permanent fixation on faith. Here how it goes. God began to share me. God began to show us as I was in meditation. He was showing me an individual, and all of a sudden there was a loud burst of sound. And initially, in the first scene, the individual began to cower and to tremble. And then God erased it, and then God showed me a loud sound, but in this case, the individual arose and he began to release another sound. And the sound that he released was greater than the sound released against him. God said, I want you to challenge the people. Are you going to allow the roar of the enemy, who is only a roaring lion, to intimidate you? Or are you going to roar back and intimidate him? Watch what God began to share with me. The louder the individual roared in the vision, he began to expand. Hear this. He began to expand. And God began to share with me that in order for you to overcome the roars of the enemy, not only do you have to match his roar, but you got to let him know his roar don't mean nothing when it comes to your relationship in God. I want to challenge you just for 3 seconds. All of those who have been afflicted by the roaring lion, over this year, you've been afflicted by his roar. He couldn't touch you. He didn't lay hand on you. He didn't affect personally. All he did was begin to roar in your life. And you begin to cower and to tremble, and allow his roar, with his only a sound, become something that's tangible. God said it's time for us now to realize that worship will cancel the enemy's roar for every time. Stand to your feet real quick. We're going to do one exercise in here. I love reactive preaching. We're going to do one exercise in here. Watch this. We're going to call some roars that the enemy uses over and over. I want to see your counterattack. During one of the wars in the Gulf, they had 2 things, a Scud missile and a Patriot missile. One was designed to destroy, and the next was designed to destroy the one what it was designed to destroy. When Peter got this revelation, Peter wanted to encourage the church that the enemy is nothing more than a roaring lion. Hands lifted real quick. I wonder if your roar can be louder than the roar of the enemy in your life. I just want you real quick to grab 3 thoughts in your life that the enemy has attacked you with. You know what Peter said? When it comes to the roaring lion, he said 4 things. First thing he said, in order to have a resistance, he said, be sober. Right in the text in verse 8. Second thing he says, be vigilant. What's the key thing now? He says, soberness is to be attentive and cautious. Vigilant is to reject the roar. He says in verse 9, resist being steadfast in faith. Know the 4th thing he says? That your brethren have accomplished these same things. Be sober, be vigilant, be Resist him steadfast in the faith, and have a confidence, because the same roar that the enemy has released in your life, your brethren have overcome the same thing. Watch what he says. There's a roar, there's a resistance. He says there's a reward. Our opening text. Where David decreed that the Lord is my light and my salvation. David in the Psalms gives the answer before the question is asked. Standard English would dictate that a question must be asked first before an answer can be given. And so according to Standard English, the text should have read, whom shall I fear? The answer should come back, the Lord is your light and salvation. But God said, I'm going to send the answer before the question is even asked. David said simply, the Lord is my light and salvation. Then he makes a question that's in the form of a statement. Whom shall I fear? Watch what he says. The Lord is my light. There are some characteristics of light. First thing, light gives guidance. Light dispels darkness. Light comforts. Light gives direction. Light eradicates fear. Next thing David said, not only is he my light, but he says he's my salvation. He's my deliverer. He's my strong tower. He's the one who rescues me out of sin, out of despair, out of affliction. My question to you is, who are you fearing? What are you fearing? Knowing that the Lord is your light and your salvation. I want you to take a few minutes, just in the stillness of the hour, to reflect on the things that the enemy has wrought in your life and the things you've allowed yourself to become subject to when it was only a roar. God has sent me with a clarion word today to challenge you as a people to stand your ground in the midst of the enemy's roar.